Welcome to Connect with County Leaders. Here's your host, Bryan Hill.
Hello and welcome to Connect with County Leaders. I'm Bryan Hill. On this edition of the podcast, I'm joined by Mark O'Meara, owner of University Mall Theaters and Cinema Arts Theater, and Gary Flather, SYA CEO. CEO?
Yes.
Wow, okay. Our focus today is on community involvement with a pair of county sports and cultural leaders. Before we start, a little bit about our guests. Mark is the owner of University Mall Theaters and Cinema Art Theaters and has been bringing art and entertainment to Fairfax for over 30 years. He has been a leader with Robinson High School Booster Club for decades, and also Hot Dog Day. We'll get into that during this. Because you know I could not leave without doing that. Gary has been involved with SYA, the Southwestern Youth Association, for over 30 years, and the Fairfax Athletic Council for over 20 years. As you can tell, both Mark and Gary have been making an impact on Fairfax County for years. And it's my privilege to be able to connect with them today. Gentlemen, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I really appreciate both of you guys being here, but let's start with Gary. Let's talk about SYA, which has 13 sports, over 10,000 kids, 2,500 volunteers, and awards over $100,000 in scholarships, which is something that we've been doing with the Board of Supervisors in One Fairfax, and allowing others to get involved. So we want to thank you for all your hard work. You've also been a long history being a youth sports leader in Fairfax County. What does success look like to you for Fairfax County residents?
So I think the success starts with our volunteers. We have a large volunteer base. We're a nonprofit, mostly volunteer organization. So it starts with the volunteers. Having a large base of volunteers makes the organization run. The other aspect is building relationships. Like we feed basically 2 high schools in our area with SYA. We fill Westville High School, Centerville High School. We also feed Robinson High School. So making relationships with those schools and all the county agencies is the other aspect that helps.
Well, it's about a lot of community engagement and making Fairfax a One Fairfax.
Yes.
And you've done an excellent job. And, you know, I've known you for about 5 years. We do talk a lot about Fairfax County and fields and a lot of other things. Again, thank you for all you do. The community work is just phenomenal. So now, Mr. O'Meara, so I have to give him some love here because alumni from Alfred University, Mr. O'Meara is a great man. I'm going to tell you that right now. So I know I'm going off script here for him, but I've known Mark for probably 20 years, believe it or not, in and out of Alfred University. I didn't know Mark. Actually, I shouldn't say that. I've known Mark for over 30 years because of Hot Dog Day. Didn't know who you were. I just thought you were some crazy guy with a big horn at the football games, which is true. But you are a consummate community organizer and participant, and Robinson High School is blessed for all the work you have done. Tell me why you got involved with this community and why you got involved with Robinson High School so much. I know your kids went there, but why so involved?
My kids went there and they played sports, and I was drafted, which presidents of boosters tend to do. And
Yes, we did.
I just have loved it. It's all about the kids. We're always thinking up ways to raise money, and it's all about the kids. The county gets so much funding, and we have to raise the rest. Community-wise, you know, the movie theaters, it's just a natural, I believe that the movie theater is the cultural center in the neighborhood. And so it's always coming up with ideas to bring in movies that address different issues, different cultures, different populations. So I love that, you know,
But I also see you very involved with George Mason Athletics. You are at every game. You're promoting sports in Fairfax County, which is also part of the cultural environment that we have, as well as your arts.
Since the Paul Westhead days. Been there a while.
You're showing your age now.
Yes.
But you're everywhere. I mean, how do you find time to be everywhere?
I don't know. My wife asks me that question every so often. Like when I leave in the morning, she goes, "Okay, what are you doing tonight? What meeting are you going to? What community thing?" And I just love it. I mean, especially education-wise. That's been my hot button all my life, is what makes students tick. Luckily, I have young kids that work at the theaters, and I'm always pumping them, like, what's going on in school, and who's doing this, and why are they doing that? It's very valuable.
Fantastic.
Well, Gary, you're running an organization. There's approximately 200,000 kids in our school system from K to 12. You have 5% of those kids running through your organization. What challenges do you see happening?
So the biggest challenges we have are permits. We have a permit process, basically, and that is, if I can speak openly, that is one of the issues that we have is the school system has one device that they use, one electronic system where they enter what we call blackouts, dates that community use can't use. And then NCS, Neighborhood and Community Services, they have another system. They don't talk to each other, so the school's got to do theirs. They give it to NCS, and then NCS provides community users. They give us the permit. So when those permits are given to us and we get cancellations, not emergencies, not weather-related items, but when they cancel because they forget or they didn't put something into the system, like back-to-school nights or other activities, there's an impact on the community user, and that impact is tough. So, as from an SYA perspective and from being a member of the athletic council as well, we've been trying to work through these issues. We want to work together to find solutions to make it work. And that's probably been the biggest challenge that we have as an organization.
So the connectivity and the system integration is something that we really need to start really delving into. And again, people don't realize that Fairfax County has almost 200,000 students in the school system.
It's big.
Your organization has a feeder program to 3 different schools.
Yes.
And your age group that you deal with is from what age to what age?
4 to 18.
4 to 18. So you got the big span
Yes.
of young people looking for things to do. And that's pretty cool. I've seen you operate, and that's pretty cool. Unfortunately, I've also been on some calls with you that weren't so cool. But anyway, it's all good, right?
Yeah.
We always ended in a good place.
We do, always.
Well, you spoke about the solid relationships or forging relationships with FCPS and Neighborhood and Community Services and other county agencies. Do you see a change in your work program or your model going forward as we see different demographic sketches and we see lack of funding? What do you see into the future for your organization?
So my organization is run, quite honestly, by people like myself,
Right.
older. We've been around the block a few times. There's some experience in there, but we also recognize that we have to evolve and we have to change. And we're trying constantly to evolve and trying to learn what technologies are important to the younger families. Working with the schools and the education, like Mark talked about, is very important to us. So we have to evolve and we have to work together. I think the biggest issue is SYA as well as the Athletic Council. We're willing to work with the organizations to find solutions to these issues that we have. We just need a seat at the table to be able to do that.
And we're going to work on that.
Excellent.
Speaking about the Athletic Council, there's a gentleman sitting next to you that was texting me during Athletic Council meetings for responses, and I wouldn't give them to him.
Good for you, Mark.
But going back to Mark and the community-related theater programs, share with us your program that helps children with disabilities learn about work, because you and I have had a lot of conversations about children with disabilities. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, it's funny, it's hard for me to talk about stuff that I do. I'm not comfortable with it, but our theater, we've had from all kinds of schools, private entities that have kids come that have disabilities, and they kind of get a work experience. So they're not doing major heavy lifting jobs, but they're doing things, and they get the feel, and they see customers coming and going. And it's just part of being a community, and I have no ego in the game. I got to get my shot in for the project going on at the Woodley Chase project there, where they donated, Erickson Living donated plot of land. I was on a committee for a year and a half that decided to put up a rec center that would be for disabled and everybody else.
Right.
And 4.2 acres, 35,000 square foot building, and looking for those big checks, and we did not meet the deadline, so I'm kind of bummed about that. But and I have no ego in that. It's not what it's about. It's just the people in the county. This is one of the greatest counties in the country, which should have something like this. It's not been done anywhere, mostly in the East Coast, with a building dedicated like this. Fairfax County should have it. Anyway, that's one of my big passions.
Okay.
And doing other things with the theater that involve fundraising for students, young filmmakers. We have film classes that come and they get to do the red carpet and show their movies, and countless programs like that.
Let's talk about Jazz for Justice with George Mason.
Well, they came to us 3 years ago, and they will come and have a really good jazz musician, and they perform for 45 minutes to an hour, and then they take a break, and they've contacted George Mason's music department, and they're allowed to come and jam with this professional jazz artist.
That's cool.
It's the concert's always pretty cool, but when the people come in there and they just jam, that's when it's really fun. And the Jazz for Justice is great with their pro bono work, big time. That's what they do. So thank you for bringing that up. I got a lot of those.
Well, Mark, you and I, and Gary, we sit a lot. We were at a lot of the George Mason basketball games, and it's not that I'm talking to you to see what you're doing for yourselves. It's what I notice is that you do a lot for the community, and so I hang on to a couple things when we see each other. So I mean, this young man has a nephew that can play some ball.
Yes.
Right. He put it on me in front of a lot of young people that played for George Mason, and I was upset. I lost that game and a basketball. Right. But those are the things that we do for the community. We're about community. It's about One Fairfax. And it's about making sure that everybody feels safe, sound, and into our community. That's what we're trying to do, create more community partnerships, peace and love.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
So, I'm very blessed to have you two on this podcast with me, but I'm also blessed to have you as friends outside of this place. You not so much. I get it. I understand.
It's still working on it.
Some sibling rivalry.
After 20 years, we got to keep working.
I miss you when you're not at the games.
Well, there's a thing called the Board of Supervisors that has been allowing me not to participate in many outside events lately.
I'm familiar with that.
Because of the work. And I have something very important that's happening in the month of February coming up. It's called the budget, which people are going to be hanging on their toes for. Yeah, I'm blessed,
Yes.
So, Mark, you had 3 kids that played at Robinson, played multiple sports, and Gary, you were born in Fairfax County, and all your kids went to Fairfax County schools. So Fairfax County must be a pretty good place. Tell us about Fairfax County from when you got here to today. And I'm going to give both of you an opportunity to just talk about what you saw when you first got here, because I know where you came from. Alfred University to Fairfax, that must have been...
Well, it was actually Columbia University. And then...
See, he had to go there.
Yeah.
He had to go there.
Had to go. My shot in there.
Yeah.
So tell us what changes you've seen since you've been here.
Oh, I from my standpoint, just being a little peon on living on Gainsborough Drive, which is a great street, lots of famous people live there, to what I'm, still living there, still happy. The neighbors are great, the people are great. Standing there and selling movie tickets for 33 years plus now, you just it's just been nothing but wonderful, friendly, committed people that care. Right. And it's gotten nothing but better. The more I get around and talk to people, you have some naysayers every so often, but I think we need those. I think we need the people that, good balance, that push our buttons.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's awesome. That's never really changed. It's only gotten better.
Yeah.
And bigger. This is one of the most diverse counties in the country.
Yes, it is.
147 languages spoken in the schools. That just blows me away.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
How about you?
So I grew up in Falls Church. So born and raised, got my kids when my wife and I got married, decided to have kids. We wanted to move as far west as we could, but still be in the Fairfax County schools, so we settled in Centerville. Growth, unbelievable. When we moved out to Centerville, there was one restaurant, Pepperoni Stick. Some people will remember that. And there was a gas station, and we had to go to Fairfax to go to the grocery store. Now there's every restaurant known to mankind. The diversity, as Mark spoke to, is fantastic. We have neighbors, we have friends of every culture. The growth of Fairfax County, people talk about the traffic. Well, traffic's part of it.
Right.
It's not that big a deal, especially where I live. And my wife and I went to Falls Church High School. She went to Woodson High School. So both of our parents went to W&L. So we're locals.
Good.
And love what we've seen in the county growth.
It's funny, people talk to me about Fairfax County and traffic, and I kind of say to them, they ask me how long it takes me to get to work, and I'm like, 12 minutes on a bad day.
Yeah.
And they're like, that's impossible. I said, no, it's not. I go right, make a right at Rocky Run, go down the road, make a left on the Fair Lakes Parkway, then make a right on West Ox, and
You're there.
I'm here.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, what about all the traffic? I said, well, that's on 66.
Yeah.
Right? Once you come live here,
Yeah.
you figure out ways where traffic is not really an impact. That's just an excuse. That's an excuse in my view.
Yeah.
But when you think about your experiences here in Fairfax County, what's one tip you would give a young family who would want to be coming into Fairfax County? Because again, you had 3 kids. They all went to Robinson. Your kids were here. You've been lifelong here. What would you say is one tip you would give somebody moving into Fairfax County from what you've seen over the years?
Volunteer. Get involved.
That's what I was going to say.
Well, he
took
was
it from
first
you.
this time. Sorry.
Oh, no, it's so
Yes,
important. He's
it
right.
is.
I mean,
Get involved.
there are so many things going on. They're just,
Yeah.
it's just everything you can dream up, cooking to
Yeah.
standing on your head to juggling, anything you want. There's
It's
ways
very
to get involved.
easy to volunteer. It's there's a tremendous number of resources available. You just have to find them.
Well, volunteering through your organizations, volunteering through Volunteer Fairfax, volunteering to help me submit the budget, any volunteers that we can take, we will. And one fun fact that I want to let you guys know, there's 1,683 restaurants in Fairfax County.
Whoa.
Right? And my goal is to eat at every one of them. All right? So I know you're with me, Mark.
I'm there.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for this episode of Connect with County Leaders. It's been my absolute pleasure to have Mark O'Meara, a friend for many, many years, and Gary Flather, also a friend, for being here with me today. And thanks for joining us. I look forward to talking with you again next month on another episode of Connect with County Leaders podcast. And guys, thanks again, because I know this was time out of your busy schedule to come and appease me. I'll see you at some more games, and I really thank you for all you do for the residents and for the children of Fairfax County. Thank you so much.
Well, thank
Thank
you for
you.
what you do. So.
Yes.
Not an easy job.
Nope.
Well, I remember the time you called me in my first week of work here. And you called me and you said, hey, are you Bryan Hill from Alfred? And I said, yes, sir. He said, I know your nickname. I said, cut it off. Take care, guys.
All right.